Been a pleasure to work on this LVC with all of you. I'm the project manager on behalf of the World Bank, based here in Dar es Salaam. And I've been interfacing with the RC's office, with George's office, and with Tanzania Civil Aviation. So thank you for being with us. It's my pleasure to also tell you a little bit about what we're going to do next. A lot of people have questions. So I have a very short presentation. But really I want to start with what were we trying to achieve this year and where are we trying to go? The vision, it's big, it's bold, it's ambitious. It's nothing short of reimagining mobility at some point, right? But we need to be constrained by practical realities. We need to learn by doing. So we have this skeleton, this framework of what the Late Victoria Challenge is. It's all of you, it's a community. But we think it's, it's the symposium and expo and the competition concept. We haven't had competitive flying so far. This has been a trial. So we refer to this as year 0 or the Late Victoria Challenge trial. So if you go out on social media, please don't give the people the impression that LVC has happened. Year 1 is next year. This is very much a prototype of a build-up. But we also have these tracks, right? We believe that the focus is, we're learning a lot from pilot projects, but how do we scale the pilot projects? If we want to have user agencies adopting services at scale routinely, we believe we need to learn about the regulatory environment, as well as the technology of drones and the technology of drone traffic management, the UTM. And we need to think about business models and public-private partnership models for infrastructure. How is it going to operate when you have 100 drones a day coming into a hospital? What does that operation center look like? Who's going to fund it? What are the use cases? So understanding logistics, understanding use cases, and bringing users together with the innovators and the investors is going to be key. And as Michael just said, building capacity. So I'm very glad that in Tanzania, we don't yet have an African Drone Academy per se, but we do have the Tanzania Flying Lab. I hope some of you took advantage of their courses. I hope that we can bring them back next year. They're doing great things. So we've focused originally on LVC on the electric vertical takeoff and landing under 25 kilos system for a number of reasons, because we think this is potentially transformative when it comes to cost of operations, but also because we think that this is safer, a better place to start. A lot of the companies you've been talking to, you ask them, well, how much can you carry? I think all of them will tell you they have plans for something much bigger, but they're beginning with this category because we're very much in this learning the market, learning the technology, learning the systems. These particular drones weren't here this week. And we've introduced, with the partnership with WFP, this concept also heavy lift logistics. So there's a lot of discussion going on about, what does the future look like? Do you introduce heavy lift first or small electric first or both, and how will they mix? These are different products. They serve different markets, and I think they have different regulatory and business strategies. But nevertheless, it is part of this broader family of the LVC vision. And we have this fantastic host in Mwanza, this location on the lake, which is not just beautiful, but it is the epicenter where we think business and markets will develop for this kind of delivery technology. So Juma Island, for many of you that have been asking, is really the prototypical island community. We're not committed to Juma, to the drone port, to everything for the future. It's symbolic of many other islands we also want to serve. So we want to think about Ukerewe Islands, of which there are dozens, I think. And there are about 86 islands in the Mwanza region of Lake Victoria. But having this facility where we can actually do real live testing in a fairly complex systems environment, near a city, near an airport, operationally with unpredictable weather, as we saw yesterday. So when we look at the whole lake, as you can see, the southern end, Tanzania, Mwanza, lots of islands, lots of infrastructure, lots of population, lots of facilities. We're really looking at Ukerewe as the possibility of the first commercially run drone corridor for medical deliveries, commodities, post. We haven't got concrete plans, but we're building we've got the foundations. The infrastructure track have been thinking about what does that look like for a drone port? What is the business model? The technology teams are showing what they can do. The regulators have been discussing how will this work if we go to scale. So this is our aspiration. We would like to invite you back next year and have a drone corridor going to Ukerewe. We may or may not achieve it. We need to work with you. We need to get feedback from the different stakeholders. But this is a much bigger market. There are 360,000 people in the Ukerewe Islands, 27 medical facilities. So here is the same map with the medical facilities, as you can see. And those red dots are designated hard-to-reach areas. And that's all within 50 to 60, 70 kilometers, the furthest one. So it's within the capability of today's drones. The teams you saw today could service these kinds of routes. Next year, I'm sure they'll come back with more capable drones, so we can keep expanding our vision. And I mentioned the drone port infrastructure. Again, this is a concept that needs to be evolved. We need to learn, but we're bringing the multidisciplinary approach together, and I think that's also what LVC is testing out here. So that's what the goal has been so far. It's been to learn by doing, to test the technology, to test the system, to try and implement world-class procedures, but then to convene and listen to all of you. Not just the drone teams, and not just the regulators, you're both very important, but also the users, the government authorities. What is the strategic plan? If we want to do this in 3-4 years' time at scale, what will it take? How do we implement? And that's the focus of the LVC. So one idea that I think we're going to try next year is the competition format. There will still be displays, there will still be trainings, we still have a symposium, but we would like to have teams shortlisted to compete for a particular prize or incentive around a particular use case. So we've defined the categories. They're on the website for those of you that follow us. I can show you a short video, but I cannot give you the final criteria because we're really here to learn from you, and so you're going to get questionnaires and surveys, and we have to put our advisory board to work. But let me at least introduce the 3 categories. The first one is the emergency delivery. Do we have the sound?
The Lake Victoria region are the most densely populated rural area in the world. But many of the 30 million citizens remain poorly connected due to a lack of transport infrastructure in this rugged terrain. This means essential products like medicines can be slow and expensive to deliver. Now, the Lake Victoria Challenge asks what could happen if we were to unlock Africa's lower skies using drones to transform the region's mobility and provide life-changing opportunities. The emergency delivery category of the Lake Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores drone performance for the distribution of life-saving and valuable cargo, from emergency medicine and blood to precious spare parts for specialized medical equipment. In the emergency delivery competition, teams must deliver an emergency package from a drone port in Mwanza to Juma Island, a distance of 20 kilometers. Then return and safely land at the point of origin. No battery swap is allowed at the drop-off location. The team that completes the delivery in the most user-friendly and safe manner within the available time will be the winner. Whether it's a blood pack, snake antivenom, or a piece of hardware for a neonatal incubator, drones can change the lives of individuals living in hard-to-reach areas.
So for emergency delivery, I think you all understand the concept. Our teams are familiar. Everyone's hungry to know what the payload requirement will be, the weight, the volume, the type of material. We don't know yet. We're really going to be surveying you, listening to our advisory board, listening to our users. We want to come up with challenging technological criteria, but even more important, we want to be relevant to real-world users. We hope to attract the kind of demonstration that can immediately implement a delivery pilot project. So it's really a question of matching a real user against these criteria. So please bear with us. I hope that by January we'll publish the criteria. The next challenge is the pickup, or the reverse logistics mission, as some of you call it. So with the emergency delivery, you can drop, or you can land, but you don't have to switch off the rotors. These criteria also have to be defined, but with a pickup, the landing has to have a much different process. So we're talking about smaller volumes, smaller weights, but at different conditions on the landing. And we're also maybe talking about different range requirements. So here's the next video.
Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores how drones can be used to gather sensitive human and environmental material in order to address life-threatening conditions, countering disease outbreaks, or providing valuable information for development. In the sample collection competition, teams must pick up as many package modules as possible from Juma Island and return them to Mwanza in a set time frame. Several packages may be carried at one time. The team that safely transports the most samples within the allocated time will be judged the challenge winner. The people of Lake Victoria need to be connected, not only to better healthcare, but also to information that can facilitate faster diagnostics, treatment, and care. The Lake Victoria Challenge hopes to transform how we collect human and environmental data, making a big difference in these rural communities.
So again, you get the big picture. We know the route, we know the destination, we know the mission typology. We will publish specific parameters and how teams will be assessed by the early next year. The final challenge is actually a mapping challenge, which we have not talked a lot about in the LVC, but we really have quite a lot of applications and a lot of exciting innovation in the machine learning, geospatial mapping, infrastructure monitoring services. And we did have a request for a post-disaster needs assessment and situational analysis mission. So some of you may know the lake region was struck by an earthquake in 2016 in Bukoba, and this resulted in rural damages, a number of facilities that were hard to reach, to assess, as well as possible obstacles on the roadways. So when you imagine the WFP, the World Food Programme video this morning of roads being stuck because of post-rainy season flooding or bridges being washed out, this is that kind of mission category.
Category of the Lake Victoria Challenge is one of 3 flying competitions featured at the event. It explores how drone technology can gather instant data for critical decision making and perform safely and reliably beyond the operator's visual line of sight. In disaster scenarios, floods, landslides, and earthquakes can rapidly transform a landscape, just when accurate terrain information is urgently needed for disaster relief. Drones are capable of mapping terrain rapidly at a fraction of the cost. In the Find and Assess competition, teams take off from the Mwanza drone port and must successfully identify the GPS locations of multiple markers on Juma Island, then return to Mwanza after completing the survey. The team who identify the most markers and return safely in the given time frame will be the challenge winners. Drone technology can be instrumental in identifying damage in real time. For those coordinating assistance efforts, a detailed map can determine what infrastructure is affected and the best strategy to coordinate a convoy on the surface. Taking place in Mwanza, Tanzania in June 2019. Are you up for the challenge? Join us at lakevictoriachallenge.org. Keep Africa rising.
But don't take these challenge definitions to heart too soon, because we're going to try and make them even harder. We're going to listen to you, we're going to listen to the users, and we're going to really try and tweak it so it's representative of a real opportunity in a real market that we think this lake region can implement next year or early 2020. So how do we do that? Well, it's not just about the competition. I think this is a way to bring people in. It's exciting. It's going to be mission-driven performance criteria. We've convened an international advisory board. So these are experts in various fields, not just drone technology, but also clean supply chains, biotechnology innovation, unmanned traffic management, and we're very happy to have Jean-Christophe Soufri with us here, who has led the technology track. Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. And Jonathan Ledjard, who has also led the infrastructure track, esteemed members of the board. If you have suggestions for people that need to join who are willing to volunteer their time, because LVC is not a rich initiative, we are welcome to ideas. We want to add the right mix of expertise, but this board is really to help advise us on industry, on judging criteria, on technical parameters, on safety requirements, to make sure it's world-class knowledge that we can leverage. Oh, and Harrison, World Economic Forum. Apologies, thank you for leading the regulatory track, if Harrison is here. There we go. We've also been working with development partners for securing the financing, which is extremely important. If you have money for LVC, come and talk to me afterwards. But not just that, to secure the knowledge and expertise around use cases. So you saw that the World Food Programme, the biggest logistics network in Africa, the 86 flights in the air at any one time, the millions and billions that they spend on travel and moving goods around Africa. So this kind of expertise on the logistics end, on the health supply chain end. So we're happy to work with UNICEF on Malawi Drone Corridor and globally on innovations, with John Snow Inc. on the health supply chain, with the World Food Programme. We are working already with the World Economic Forum, although it says draft on the MOU, but I think that's taken. And then also partners with drone associations. So you've seen these guys with the African drone t-shirts running around. They've been safety officers, they've been pilots, they've been trainers. We really welcome their appreciation. They're really leveraging and networking amongst African innovation communities. So next year when we convene, we really hope to have an exhibit, an expo, and a scholarships program for lots of young African startups. And we look forward to work with our partners to try and make that happen. And I've mentioned the Tanzania Flying Labs before. I should give a shout out to two of our donors who are not here today, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Denmark and the Korean Green Growth Partnership, which have made the LVC possible to date with financing for clean technology and for digital innovation. So that's really what we have. It's just the broad brush strokes. If you're hoping for the details, I'm sorry to say that you still have work to do. You have to come and work with us. We're going to send you a survey. We hope to collect feedback. This event was really a validation of the concepts and to help understand where the priorities should be. So please stay tuned, follow the website. A newsletter has been created. I hope that you're all automatically subscribed. Aerial Futures, where are you? Yep. So Aerial Futures are leading on this communications work, and I think we will include you all in that newsletter, or maybe you'll get an opt-in during the survey. So I think this is the beginning of creating a community that's following a common vision, that is bringing different disciplines to bear on what we think is a very exciting and fast-changing arena. Thank you very much.